Hey guys, I know it's been a while, but I've got some more videos lined up for you guys, and this time I wanted to talk about something other than writing techniques. We're going to be talking about marketing this time, because I figure if you're following this series, you're either writing a book, thinking about writing a book, or you've written a book. And if you've done any of those, you're probably thinking about self-publishing or looking for publishers. Now, I'm going to focus more on the self-publishing side of things. If you're looking for publishers, that's more of a traditional approach, and there are plenty of resources that you can follow in that direction. When it comes to self-publishing, though, it's kind of the Wild West. There's lots of different ways you can go about things, particularly when it comes to marketing. And for this video, I'm going to do a quick overview of 3 examples from the year that I published Odyssey One, which was my breakout novel. There were 3 distinct examples that year of people who had done their marketing in wildly different ways, yet each one was successful. Okay, there's myself and 2 other authors. I'm not going to get into their names because honestly I don't remember them. I've never interacted with them personally. I just remember their example from that year because they stood out in how they approached things, both because of how successful they were. Both were more successful than I was, but also because their methods were wildly different than what I used. Okay, so first, myself. I did basically what we're going to call pre-marketing. That is, I was writing before I self-published. I had created a core audience that were interested in my work, that were energetic, that I interacted with. They followed me over. They were able to push my book up the charts where it got more attention from other people. In the case of Odyssey One, I suspect that the fact that it was really badly edited actually worked in its favor. We're going to discuss that in another video. Now, another example was a writer from, I believe it was Colorado. I'm not going to go into any more details than that. This particular writer did postmarketing, which is the more traditional version of what you might expect to be focusing on. That is, after they published their books, they would go on the internet and they would get onto social media. At the time it was Facebook and MySpace, I believe. This was almost 10 years ago. And they just posted constantly. Now, if you're going to do this, there's 2 things you need to think about. The first is that you can't just believe one post and think it's going to do you any good. You're going to have to post about that book over and over again every day. The average, statistically speaking, the average number of times that somebody's going to see an advertisement before they buy that product is between 3 and 7 times. So that means you have to hit all of your potential readers at least 3 times, if not as many as 7 times, before you're going to statistically get them to go over and click on the link and go buy the book. Okay? That also leads us into the second thing. You don't want to be annoying people because that will turn them off, which means you're walking a fine line with this particular means. But this is a technique that you're going to have to learn. We all have to learn at some point. I tend to err way too much on the low end of the posts. I should be posting more often. I know it. I lean really heavily on my active and involved audience. And so far that has been working for me, but that doesn't really allow for much growth. You know, if you want to grow your brand, you're going to have to learn the technique of post-marketing. Okay? And finally, we're going to talk about the 3rd example from that year. And I'm bringing this up mainly because it shows some outside-the-box thinking. You can't do this anymore. However, this particular author in that year went out and bought reviews. It was possible to do at the time. You could buy 500 5-star reviews for $5 or something like that. And this is what that author did. And that brought attention to the books. And people came in and they bought the books. And enough people liked the books that they kept buying the books. Now, Amazon has cracked down heavily on this because obviously it kind of screws around with their algorithm. So don't try this today. You will lose your account, they will shut everything down, probably ban you. You don't want to go down that route. The reason I mention it is because there are always going to be those little loopholes. And if you can find one while it's still open, it's an option. What those loopholes are now, I couldn't tell you because I don't know them. But they're always going to be there. This is taking advantage of the algorithm in some way. It's gaming the system. It's not the way you're supposed to do things, but there's always going to be somebody who figures out a way to do it. That said, the system will keep shutting those meetings down as fast as they can, so they don't stay open very long. I'm not particularly fond of this type of maneuvering. I think that if you're going to go about this sort of thing, everybody should be playing on a level playing field. But I also recognize that I'm a little naive in those regards. So anyway, those are the 3 examples that I wanted to talk about concerning marketing from the year that I published Odyssey One. Now, next time we're going to talk about Odyssey One in particular as a case study and why I think that having bad editing on the original release of Odyssey One was actually a good thing for me. Alright guys, stay safe, and I'll talk to you next time.